Well, here we are. Welcome back, folks, as we get ready to hang out with you. And it appears as if the squinting has finally stopped with the Philadelphia 76ers as they get ready to take on the Utah Jazz, who are worse than the Sixers with 15 wins, Sixers with 21, 20 games remaining on the campaign. And they have some Sunday night hoops, 7:30 start time. And this one should be a fun one. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Pregame Show, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Along with Rich Hoffman, Devon Givens, Brianna, you in the chat. We thank you for hanging out on a Sunday where the weather has broken, the clocks have changed. It's still light outside right now as we get ready to start this pregame show and the game. So we thank everybody for kicking it with us here. But we have a lot to get to with this one. Some bad breaks for the Sixers over the weekend, starters a little bit later, and also our pregame picks courtesy of Bet365. But Rich, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man. Couple big losses with you and the boys.
Yeah.
We're back at it.
And now we're back at it, man. We're back at it for a home game. Again, going forward for the month of March at least, 4 games a week. So we'll have a decent amount of home games, but there are more road games in the month of March for the 76ers. And folks, let's just start. If you checked out our PHLY_Sixers Twitter account on Twitter, even starting the show here, you clicked on to join us and you see that it says, thank you much. Yes, thank you very much, because it looks like, Rich, they're finally getting the picture here. No Tyrese Maxey and Paul George for the second consecutive game together. No Tyrese Maxey for the third straight game for him because of the injury to his hip and his finger, and George because of his finger and his groin, when you look at those two. But Joel being done for the remainder of the season, and also just simply with where we are right now, those guys are out. We'll get to Kyle's tweet from the arena about what Nick Nurse had to say in regards to playing Yabusele, Grimes, Oubre going forward, and their minutes, and just piling up all these minutes basically for no reason. Well, so we'll get to that. But just when you look at those last few games since you were off and they were road games, and what they did to, it doesn't change how you felt because I already know where you were, but the outcome and where it has seemingly landed the Sixers brass for where we are right now.
I think this is what it's supposed to look like. And are these games going to be fun to watch? Like, in terms of if you want them to compete and win, a lot of the time they're not. That's the way this works. Maybe when they play a team that is also at the bottom of the standings. We're going to get to tonight's game, guys. It's going to be pretty hard to lose that one, I would say, with all of the people. The Jazz are out. But yeah, I mean, you're going to be – I thought you guys handled those shows really well, too. It's like, oh, yeah, they can't guard anybody. And let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about some individual players. Let's talk about some future stuff. Let's talk about some decisions they're going to have to make in the upcoming months, where they are in the standings. We have ordered the tank helmets as well for Tank Watch. Vince and I ordered those the other day.
Beautiful.
These they're wonderful helmets, I will say.
Beautiful.
So everybody will get to watch us wear those for a few minutes every podcast. That's what it's supposed to look like, man. And I think we should get to what Nick Nurse said with Kyle's tweet. He basically said, sounds like minutes could be scaled down a little bit in the weeks ahead for Yabusele, Oubre, and Grimes specifically. Nick Nurse said pregame that he has been pushing their minutes heavily the last few weeks and doesn't want to have them pushing 40 plus with a shorthanded roster. No arguments there, right?
No. A little bit, it would have been nice to have this a little bit sooner, but they're getting the fit. They're not too far out of it yet where this certainly can still pay some dividends down the line.
I did not realize, honestly, Devon, with these games, it's sometimes hard to keep track of some of the details because, they just get their butts kicked in a lot of them. I mean, Oubre's minutes are absurd.
Insane. He's at like 38, 39.
He's at 38.4 since February, and he's played, I'm looking at like 15 games here. So, and that's one of those things I thought Kyle did a nice job of hitting on that the other night. I have a lot of respect for that guy. I'm not sure I want him back on the team next year just because we've talked about some of the mistakes he makes on the defensive end.
Mhm.
And the big thing for me, he's just not a very good 3-point shooter. And it's hard to live. But I will not say a bad word about Kelly Oubre's effort. That guy brings it every single night, having to play 38 minutes every night. That's crazy. He still plays hard, gives his all. He deserves a ton of credit for that. But yes, Nick Nurse, let's turn down the minutes a little bit. Let's get it down to, I mean, you could go to like 32. That's still like a lot of minutes for him, but it's way less than it has been. Grimes has also been up around 36 since he has been with the Sixers. Yabusele is another guy. I think that is more that's more an excuse to play Bona more, I would say, right? That's Yabusele, get him out or play him at the 4 more and then get Bona in the lineup. So that sounds good to me. That sounds like a coach and a franchise that has come to grips with, okay, this season is over.
Stop the squinting.
Yeah, well, let's try and do this the best way possible.
Yes.
Let's see if one of these guys can hit, one of these guys can break through. Maybe one of them learns a skill set over the past couple of weeks. I thought it was good. I was listening to your pod the other day that you guys did after the Boston game, and it's like Justin Edwards, like, I love the way he plays because I think it scales well with Joel and other star players. He's playing smart basketball, but like, go try some stuff, Go try some stuff. That's what this part of the season is like. Next year, if they have some guys healthy and he finds his way back in the rotation, okay, play like you have been playing, smart, keep the ball moving, quick decisions, all of those things. But now, like you said, the dribble moves he was putting on, the combo moves, let's see a few more of those. And if you screw up, that's fine as well. So, hearing Nick Nurse say that, I didn't actually hear it. I just read Kyle's tweet, but Kyle does a pretty good job of synthesizing that information for all of us. That sounds like they have the right idea. That said, I do think they're going to win the night considering who Utah has available.
I think I agree with you. So everybody get ready for win number 22.
I think so.
On the season. Let's just call it for what it is because that's exactly what it is. But no, man, and it was something that, of course, as you know, when you are away and there are some things here that we see, some things that we talk about during the other shows when you're not here, I like to throw them at you because I want to get your input on them too. So you were leading me right in that direction of basically with the Justin Edwards conversation, scaling down some of those minutes with Grimes, what you thought of him as a point guard when he's handled that, going off the way that he has, but also having a tough shooting night against Boston, quite frankly, on Thursday. And that'll happen. That's okay. But Kelly Oubre plays well. And just simply your thoughts of, we've talked a bunch about, I'm not going to ask Rich any more of what you think should happen going forward. We're here now. We know what's going to happen going forward. Thank you, Sixers, for finally seeing the light and understanding that this is, in fact, the case. But just as you look at Edwards and some of these other guys and seeing how they play out, I mean, yeah, you're going to get a really good sample size of basketball here for the final 20 games, man. At 21-41 right now, they'll probably get a win tonight. But
probably, yeah.
You got Toronto coming up here a couple of times this month. You got Toronto this week, actually, but you have them later on in the month as well. You have some games where before we talked about, yes, it's a tough schedule, but they can win some of these games to get into the play-in. Now when you look at it, because George and Maxey are out, Nurse talking about scaling things down for the minutes, the schedule actually looks pretty good in their favor of actually losing games now because of who you are playing on the floor.
That West Coast trip is going to be hard. Even that was going to be hard if you had your whole rotation available.
Yes.
And this was the team we thought it was going to be before the year. So there is something to getting their minutes down, but also telling the rest of the guys, okay, here is how it's going to look like for these last 20 games, right? Because, Devon, here's the thing. Coaches and players, they're not going to try to lose. They are going to give their all, and that's the way it works, and that's a good thing. But
because you want that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want losers on your team.
No. No. And so, they will scale down their minutes because they don't want to get them hurt, and they want to take a look at some other players. They can do that organizationally. But you want to get them like in a system, right? You want to get them in a rhythm because, man, as you have said a bunch of times, there's 4 games a week for a while here.
It's a lot of basketball.
So you need to actually get through those games, try and get something productive out of those games, and that's what they'll do. And it sounds like Nick Nurse and I assume Daryl Morey is kind of told him this as well. They have settled on that. I think that's good to hear. And by the way, like play Kelly and Quentin, you can play them 32, 34 minutes or whatever. But yeah, 40 minutes, like playing them top of the league minutes, that doesn't have to happen. Let's
No.
see some of these young guys, give them a little bit more of a shot, and we'll make some judgments off of that.
Outside of Edwards and Bona, because I know you want to see Bona also. Who else do you want to see? Who else do you want to see? Jared Butler, you want to get a glimpse of him a little bit more? We've seen the Jeff Doughton. We know what that looks like, but it also might help you lose games. So play him if you want. But is there anybody else that you really, really want to take a peek at with this group?
Butler is one. Bona is a big one. Edwards is a big one. Those are the
Those
three
are the
that
main three.
come to mind right away.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, it's funny that Grimes and Butler were kind of, I put them in the same bucket because they were acquired right around a similar time. But because we've already seen enough of Grimes, that's good. He's good. He's almost too good. Like, he's, as you and Kyle and Derek have talked about, he's earning himself more money just because of how well he is playing down the stretch here. Yeah, those would be the three. And it's like Jared Butler, that's the one where he hasn't really played that well recently, but hasn't really been in the rotation either. So, like, let's see a little more of it, give him a little bit more of a chance, a longer leash to make some mistakes. Let's see a little bit more.
I also want to see Jalen Hood-Schifino and see if they give him a little bit of run down the stretch. Two-way, he's on a two-way deal. So he hasn't played a lot of NBA games, so he should be eligible to play in some of these games down the stretch of these final 20. Do what you need to do with the Blue Coats, but I do want to see Hood-Schifino a little bit as well, to see what he has. He may have nothing, but it's a guy that let's evaluate. Let's see what it looks like as these things play out. He might still be a part of the team as well going into the summer where you're looking at a two-way player playing in Summer League. So I want to see Jalen Hood-Schifino too. Didn't check to see if he was available tonight. Did not check the injury report as of late, but we'll see how that looks. So let's go to where this team is, though, with the fan base. We have a bunch of people, and again, thank you on a Sunday for over 100 people in here currently watching. Make sure you hit the like button as well and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend. But over the weekend also, Rich, Smackdown, the big popular wrestling was in town, and you saw Bill Matz from the Flyers team. He was there. I'm sure Vinny was there, right, from the Eagles squad, and so many others that we know. But they also ran into a little bit of trouble because Paul George, Justin Edwards, Adem Bona, Gershon Yabusele, he was caught. He was caught. They were caught on camera. Not caught on camera. They were placed on camera, but the reception wasn't all that great. And Bree has it for us as we get ready to play it out. And you don't necessarily need to hear the boos. We're just telling you as Bree plays it and you see. Well, let's let you hear it if you can.
Ringside. Of course, these Philly fans, you can get a mixed reaction when you have certain struggles.
Rich, it's not good when you're star player and three role players, one in which I think Sixer fans like all three of those role players.
Sure.
Paul George is there. I was wondering in the moment, I'm like, I wonder how they would have reacted if George wasn't in it, because they do like those other guys for the hardworking role players that they are. But this is where we are. As we talk about all this, this is where we are.
It's true. And Jeannie mentioned, and I think this sums up my feelings on this. She says, I'm still in disbelief that PG thought it was good to be at Smackdown and hold up that belt. 100% agree, Jeannie. But in fairness, Paul George, whether it's been Podcast P or some other things he said after games this year, I've been in disbelief that he said those too. He's one of those guys where, I'm not sure. Again, the decision-making is ultimately harmless. Like, he's not doing anything except probably he's like the social assassin. He's like Larry David, where he's just, he's just bothering people's taste, right? Like, it's not anything offensive or anything like that. It's just like, man, I don't want to hear that right now. He is the king of that. I'm sure. Like, look, if you're Justin Edwards and Bona and Yabu, I'm sure they're just excited to be at Smackdown and be up on the big screen. Those wrestling events, I haven't gone to too many, but I went to the 2 Royal Rumbles because I have a couple friends from out of town who are big wrestling fans. So I was like, I'll go to that. Yeah. Had a great time both times. have no idea what's going on besides those two.
Never
We had
been.
2 Royal Rumbles in 4 years, though. So I did have a lot of fun at those 2 events in January. You know, it was really funny, man. There was one time The Rock came out.
Yeah.
And I think he helped Roman Reigns win. This was like 10 years ago at this point. I was so excited. I was like, The Rock came out or whatever. But the fans, they were not happy. It was not the story that they were looking for.
Right.
I was like, are you kidding
Of
me?
helping Roman Reigns?
So there's
Okay,
so there's
I got you.
19,000 people leaving the arena just all bummed, like, you know, they're furious at the storyline or whatever. And I got like a huge grin on my face. I was like, that was awesome. The Rock came out. Hey, do you smell? You know, all that stuff.
Right.
He came out. Anyway, so going to a wrestling event where those people love booing the wrestlers, which is
heel.
Yeah, which is, by the way, is part of the show, right?
Sure.
That's part of the show. That's part of what WWE, that's what they get fueled off of, right? They love having the heel and the guy or the girl who's screaming at the crowd and the crowd's booing them. So yeah, for PG to show up with the Sixers belt, not the best decision in the world, but yeah.
Well, here's Mark Jackson here in the chat says Paul George is a nut. He's not built for Philly. He's more comfortable with palm trees and ocean views, of course, with the Los Angeles piece. And bad choice of posting the photos on the All-Star break that his wife had put out there on social media. Bad choice thereafter. Here's the one thing, Mark and Rich, that I do like. Here's what I like. He's hanging out with the young guys, which I do like. As a leader, if you're supposed to be a leader, if he's here next year, that could go a long way, right? Just being around those young guys. Yabusele, not a young guy, but a role player. They're all hanging out. So I appreciate that part. But that was not the night again. You just, was that Friday night? I think it was Friday night. Friday night, Bree says yes, it was Friday night.
That is nice that he brought all those guys.
I like that he's hanging with Justin Edwards and Bona in particular. He's hanging with the role players and he's kicking it with them, no problem, no issue. But again, it's just go with them. If the camera says they're gonna do it, maybe let them do it, and you kind of just step to the side and say, just show these guys, because what he's had the problem of doing is reading the room the wrong way. He still doesn't seem to understand Philadelphia in that way, where reading the room is smart, because everything he was fine with driving down at the NFC Championship, just bad GPSing right there of going down Broad Street in the middle of thousands of people and thinking you were going to get through. That's okay. That's fine.
We could do a show of,
I was going to say this,
of like Paul George's
worst
faux pas.
Yeah, worst moments of the season, non-basketball related, right? Because he's had already going on to his podcast and saying the Eagles are going to be a dynasty. Stay out of it, because your season is going horribly and you aren't playing basketball right now. Save that for later. You know, next year when you guys start the season, the Eagles are 7-1 and you're talking about, and you're playing well. Yeah, say it next year. Then this the photo. And then, you know, somebody mentioned in the chat where the Joel Drugs comment about what to tell Joel.
Drugs help.
We can definitely do a show on that one. And Mark says, yes, he was definitely shook driving down Broad Street.
Oh, I would have been too.
Yeah, bad choice. Bad choice once again. But no, we had to bring that one up because that one was just funny. And he still just doesn't understand the city.
There's been a lot of, the two that are sticking out, the car and also the Smackdown getting booed. Like, it's like at the beginning of a movie where it's like record scratch, freeze frame. It's like, you might guess how I got into this situation.
This mess.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's been a few of those, and that's been part of the PG experience this year.
It has been an
well.
experience.
I'm sure there will be another one of those in the next month, even if he doesn't step on the court.
Yeah. But he has certainly given us some things to talk about for sure along the way. Ramid says, what are the chances in the chat? He asked the question of, what are the chances that he's not here next year?
I think it's probably too early to I haven't thought. I guess my point is, Ramid, I haven't gotten into that fully. It's not going to be an easy contract to trade, I would say. I think the Sixers might try and maybe next trade deadline, like let's say he has a good season and they are going to go more of the rebuilding route, more of the Maxey route, they might be able to get better value if he shows people a healthier, better season, which I think could happen next year too. So my guess is that at the beginning of the year, he's going to be on the roster. That'd be my guess.
I agree.
But who knows? Maybe teams still value him and teams think, okay, he didn't have a great year this year. He was hurt. It's a lot of money, but there aren't a lot of ways for us to get better. And, they think, okay, give us PG, and maybe our star is a healthier player than Joel has been so far this year, and it'll work out a little bit better. But my guess, Ramid, is that he will be on the team at the start of next season, maybe not by the end of the season. We'll see.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely. I actually think it's pretty much, even though it is early, I do think it's something that's going to happen where he's back next season. I just do. I don't think they move on from him yet. They might take phone calls. They might try. They might initiate phone calls. But yeah. I just don't think that he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they want to see it again. They want to see if it actually works. And then you also have to point out one more piece, Mid, is, and we won't know this for 2 more months now because of the date of if the Sixers actually keep their top 6 pick. That might also change their thinking of how to move forward, how to go about their business, whether if they keep it and want to have that player as a piece with the main 3, or maybe depending on if it's Cooper Flagg and you get the number 1 pick, he can take over for Paul George and you feel a little easier of maybe taking a little bit less in return in that way if you move on from Paul George. So I don't think we'll know for a while, Mid, of course, as Rich pointed out, and there are some factors there that will have us kind of taking a step back and right now just saying that he will be here for next season. All right, before we get to the starters, Bree, we talked about the insane levels of tanking that we want the Sixers to go to. The Jazz are mastering it right now.
You can't beat this tonight.
Look at the injury report right now for the Utah Jazz. The updated injury report.
Couldn't even play Jaden Springer tonight.
Jaden Springer gets the night off. He gets the night off. Jaden Springer, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Elijah Harkless, Taylor Hendricks. You have Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, and John. I already mentioned John Collins. All of these guys are out. Listen to some of these injuries too. When you know, low back soreness, plantar fasciitis, low back injury management.
I got that low back soreness.
Right fibula fracture. So do I. I have low back. Yeah,
just walking around.
Just walking around. So I get that one. I can't yell at him about that. But Rich, this list is insane, man. Insane. Danny Ainge, salute to you, my man.
Yeah, he's got the helmet on the night. So I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
So I haven't looked at their starting lineup, but I'm just looking at their depth chart, and it's on ESPN's page. And when somebody's out, there's a big red O next to it. There's a lot of people, out in this game, Devon. So I'm looking at this. Isaiah Collier, who has been playing a lot.
He's been playing some
recently
decent basketball.
Decent, and he was playing awful at the beginning of the year.
Yes, he was.
But again, he was a kid who was thrown into, he was not particularly efficient at USC last year. Young kid, one of the top recruits coming into the year.
Someone that we talked about for the 16th pick.
Sure, yeah. And he has started to play a little bit better. I'm sure he's going to take a million shots tonight because he has to. Keontae George, that's probably your...
Like him, that's a normal player.
That's your big 2. Bryce Sensabaugh, who cooked the Sixers in Utah.
Old man game.
He was on fire.
Old man game.
And then the big one, our old friend KJ Martin, the guy who was leading the show in December a bunch for us because he was playing pretty well. I miss his athleticism. Then you have, Filipowski.
Who's been scoring?
Huh?
He's been scoring.
Yeah. Cody Williams, Johnny Juzang, Micah Potter.
UCLA great Johnny Juzang.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the Sixers, even if they scale down the minutes for Quentin and Kelly and a bunch of those guys, I think they have a good shot of getting this one tonight just because of who the Jazz do not have available. It's not like the Jazz are very good when they have all their guys available either, Devon. No. So, I think this is probably going to be a win tonight.
Yes, Vic says, KJ Martin.
Oh, yeah. Vic.
See, people didn't even realize that KJ Martin got rerouted to the Utah Jazz after initially being traded to the Detroit Pistons and then shipped out. And he ended up with the Utah Jazz, KJ Martin. Absolutely. Look at that. From the Jazz, KJ Martin just reuniting with everybody on the Sixers side. Who's that? Lump. That looks like Lump right there. Can't tell who that is that he's hugging. And KJ Martin back with the squad. Who's that? Is that Reg?
That is Reg.
That is Reg. Okay. All right. You got all the folks from the Sixers that he's dapping up in his return. And he's healthy. When he left here and traded, he wasn't healthy, but he's up there playing. I was watching the other night. He caught a nice lob pass from Isaiah Collier, baseline. And KJ Martin can get up there with the hops that he has and finish it, of course.
Really good dunk.
KJ Martin. Yep.
Yeah, that injury was very poorly timed. I mean, because that was when we still thought, all right, let's try and tread water here and see if everybody can get healthy for the playoffs. And he went down, and it basically took him right to the trade deadline for, I think it was like a month and a half, right?
Yeah.
It was right around Christmas, I think, when he got hurt, and that was a bummer. So good to see him healthy. Thought he played pretty well for the Sixers. We know he does have some limitations, but great athlete. It was one of the Sixers' best defenders by a mile so far this year. I don't think it's that, like, he's not the only reason that they are struggling so much on the defensive end right now, but they could use him. Like, I think that would make a pretty big difference just to have his athleticism, have his switchability, have his secondary rim protection. So good to see KJ caught on, and he's getting a chance to play with the Jazz. One
more guy that we forgot to mention, Colin Sexton, also out thrifting with a famous nobody. Checking in the chat says, I seen Colin Sexton on South Street today. Walking solo, no ankle limp at all.
We got some boots on the ground
exactly
right now.
And was buying some shoes, LOL, buying some sneakers there from on South Street. So
they should have put that on the injury report.
That's right. Ankle.
Colin Sexton.
South Street.
On South Street today, walking solo, no ankle limp.
We got
buying shoes from Status.
See, we got spies everywhere, folks. We've got the spies, man. We're everywhere. We see what's going on. Thrifting with the famous nobody. Thank you for sending that one in. We appreciate it as we get ready for the insane levels of tanking from the Jazz, taking on the Sixers. Let's take a peek at the Sixers starting lineup tonight and who they have in the starting unit for the 76ers. And right now, it looks like it's going to be the same starting lineup from the other day.
It's fine. And they'll probably play a fewer minutes. Drum was he was sick, I believe, today, but he was a game time decision, and he is playing. I'd like to see Bona. And Nick Nurse, I believe he mentioned that at yesterday's practice, that we got to give this guy a little bit of a shot. So hopefully we see that. But yeah, no problem with that starting lineup.
Yep. So this is not an adjustment to when we've kept up with the starting lineup and the change. This is the same starting lineup from the other day, so we're stuck on 39, everybody. Stuck on 39. We have not moved into the 40s yet.
I think we're going to get to the 40s.
I think so, too. And a few different 40s as they continue.
I think we're going to get to the 40s and not 40.
No, exactly. All right, so that's your starting lineup. Let's get to our pregame picks from Bet365, our pregame picks segment brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. What do we have here, Bree, that I put together? Kyle Filipowski is in there, as I talked with you a little bit earlier. First, we go to Andre Drummond. Over 10.5 rebounds. Should he get the minutes? Jazz are not very good. There are going to be a lot of missed shots. And I'm going with Drummond to stay out of foul trouble, stay on the floor a little bit, collect those 10.5 rebounds to go with Kyle Filipowski's over-under of 15.5 points. As I mentioned, he's been playing pretty well. He's had a couple 20-plus games in there. They try to attach Kyle Filipowski to the Philadelphia area a lot. Remember when he was coming out and he's going to Duke, and even though he's from like New York, something. Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, a lot of people, the local ties.
Philly's own.
Philly's own Kyle Filipowski. So he's not. We're just saying. So that's a plus 240 at Bet365, and if you want to jump in there, add another part to the leg, to the ticket in general, you can boost that by 30% with the same game parlay at Bet365. So please go enjoy, tail responsibly, must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Starters for the Utah Jazz don't have them yet.
They probably don't even know.
They don't know. They're just going to run it out there. They're just going
to throw the first 5 guys on the court. Just go out there.
It's not on their Twitter account, so it's not official until the game starts. So with that, we're going to step away. We're going to come back after the game, check in with everybody, and see how you feel about the Sixers probably picking up their 22nd win on the season. But can they outduel Danny Ainge with their level of tanking? We will find out who wins.
I think the Sixers win.
I think I agree. So Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes, they're going to go nuts and win this game over the Jazz. Get ready, everybody.
Here's my point. If you're going to win, you might as well win by 40.
They're not.
Huh?
They're not.
They're probably not capable.
Yeah.
But
they're not. So we also mentioned the bad bets, the bad beats for the Sixers. We'll get to that in the post game because we got to talk about the Nets and the Raptors losing yesterday, but the Bulls winning. We'll update it all after the game when we hang out with you here on the PHLY Sixers post game show presented by Bet365 right here in this very location. Everybody enjoy the game. We'll talk to you then. See ya.
Enjoy the game.
We all silly like the mayor.